Welcome to the Some Laugh podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No, there's going to be some.
It's some laugh. No, thanks for joining us, Glenn.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, we've got Glenn Will in as a guest today, and we're joined by guest host, previous guest Marc Nelson.
I know, it's just class.
Stuart and Steve are both on different holidays, that's why.
Where are they? Because I know Stuart's in Portugal.
It was in Portugal, and now he's in a stag do, I think, in Ireland.
All right.
And Steve's in New York with his missus.
Oh, nice.
But some of us don't take days off.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of us,
Well, they'll learn. They'll learn when.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't got them off the couch since.
Looks like someone's moved into the shed.
Yeah.
There was before we started recording this, you were making coffee, and Glenn came in to say, "Don't know if this is important, but the hills are on fire."
Yeah.
hills are just on fire. It happens sometimes, man. You know.
Well, with the advent of fracking, you just yeah, you know, what do you want to? You want to roll over for Putin, or you want to get some of your own gas?
Because there's a lot of oil in the old Kilpatrick Hills.
Yeah. The last time we did a podcast was the day Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, the adventure.
Yes.
It's just that was Kai's podcast, and I
Very
stayed in
same
this.
morning.
I stayed in a spare room and woke up to World War III starting. I opened the blinds and he's got this thing. It's like a macrame like sign that he hangs in the spare room, and it just said, "The adventure is just beginning."
But it was in Russian.
Well, it has to be now.
I was doing like a radio panel show thing that week, breaking the news, and it was the week that it broke. I think it's maybe the day or the day after the war started, and I'm like, in Russia, Ukraine was a story before he invaded, and so you're writing all these jokes for it, and then it happened, and you're like, right, cool, well, we're going to at least finally be able to react to some breaking news. Like, we're just dropping the story. We can't do it. It's too.
They just didn't talk about it.
Didn't talk about it at all, which seems a bit to defeat the point of a topical.
Yeah, what news are they breaking?
I know.
Oh, they've painted the bridge again. Let's get our finest satirists on that.
It literally was that.
That's the old Kilpatrick Hills on fire again.
No. We're not going to talk about that. How about the other side of the hill that's not on fire? Let's make some pithy jokes about that. Oh, that'll ruffle some feathers.
I'm amazed by that. That happens on Radio Scotland quite a lot.
I think if the news gets too real, they're like, listen, we just can't cover this whatsoever, which, you know, I don't know. I guess they're a bit risk.
I suppose you can't be seen. I think the reason is you can't be seen to be making light of it.
You know. But that is the whole point of a comedy panel show.
Yeah, well, it's the whole point of satire.
Yeah.
It is to, you know, it's an actual necessary tool of society to keep people in check.
Yeah, 100%.
I did. I was in Edinburgh once, and they asked me to come do that BBC tent. They'd seen the show, and then somebody liked it. You know, you always know when you get one of these where somebody likes you and somebody doesn't.
Yeah.
So recorded it. Get paid for it. Got a letter afterwards from the person who didn't like me. It's like, yes, we're not going to be able to use any of the things you said in light of current troubles in the Middle East. We feel that that could inflame things. And I'm like, what has just started in the Middle East? The news story would be for some. It's pretty incredible to us too. It's calmed down there, so now we don't want to say anything. But if you can't, when it all calms down, we'll put your joke out on our air. We'll play it, but.
I did feel that, like, see, when the Ukraine thing started, to me it was like, oh, this must have been what it was like being a comic when the Iraq war and all that was on, because, like, any mention of it, like, was so contentious and stuff that you're like, you know, if you wanted any telly or something like that, you maybe need to avoid it. and they just wouldn't want to touch you with a barge pole, but it was the big thing that was obviously going on.
Well, I learned a valuable lesson about this. It's funny. I was just thinking of this story as we were coming here. There was a comic named Dave Crow. He's an American comic, elite, international elite. Replaced Stanhope in the the Velvet Master series, the thing Hennigan used to do.
Yeah.
When Stanhope left, Crow came in, did his slot. So this guy, he's great comic, fantastic. For some reason, he's got a kid in England that he goes and visits. So there's this little small area of Suffolk that every once in a while, Dave Crow gets up on stage and tries new material out. And the people have no fucking clue how good this guy is and stuff. You know, they're lucky to have him. So Dave's up there, and he's an old mate of mine, and I'm pretty amazed he's on the show too. And he does an innocuous Ukraine joke. The basis of the joke was you can tell somebody's self-obsessed when you speak about Ukraine to them, because you go, you know what I really like about you, and then they're like, and then Ukraine. And that's some guy in the back goes, fake war.
Jesus.
Like as soon as he brings it, fake war. And he was saying it in like this weird sort of Suffolk farmer accent. So like everybody was like, what are you trying to say? And he clarifies it, and just also give you just how good of a comic Dave is. I learned so much because he just went, okay, and then just moved on. Did not. But then after, so he didn't touch it at all. I'm talking to Dave. And I was like, what's that, fake war? And he's like, yeah, the thing that guy doesn't know is that I just made a documentary in Ukraine. 1 week ago, I was in Bucha with a Ukrainian film crew, because he went over there to find out how stand-up is right now.
Jesus.
How stand-up is in, and he's self financing this documentary, and it's gonna be incredible. When it comes out. And he said it's more for comics than it is for anybody else. But he met all these amazing Ukrainian comics, and in Bucha had to turn everything off. He was just like, it was too much. Like he had Ukrainians, and they didn't want to do anything other than help him. But the guy was just like, man, this I don't. And he's like, yeah, for sure. And just in that moment, he could have fucking. Once that guy, fake war. He's now got like a mountain, but you just realized. No, you don't touch it at all. Like, how far back would he have to go to teach this guy the moronic statement that he made, other than just?
But there's no answer that guy would have accepted.
None.
So you would have just been knocking your head against a wall.
But that's what I mean. Yeah. Like you pick your battles. This guy walks around the fucking greater Suffolk area, like, I know what's going on in Ukraine. And he to a point where he probably does, fascinate about it on the internet. But, at this point, there's a guy who's been there. He could teach you so much.
Yeah, exactly. You ignorant bastard.
And also, like, even if the heckle had been like, there's a mainstream media slant that is not portrayed properly, Nobody thinks it's not happening.
I was because I was in Liverpool the weekend of Eurovision.
Aye.
And I saw one of the broadcasts. They were saying that the UK must be really disappointed they're not getting to host this. I was like, I reckon they've got bigger things in their minds right now. I don't think hosting a talent show is really top of their priorities.
Well, maybe that's what delayed the offensive. Okay, nobody tell anybody, but after Eurovision, we go.
Have you ever tried any material? I had a joke that I tried to fit into Edinburgh last year, and it just didn't work. People just didn't, and I ended up having to change the end of it. I was basically talking about people taking in Ukrainian refugees, because it was after Kai had taken one in, and I was like, I'm worried because during lockdown, like 80% of people that got dogs ended up getting rid of the dog, and we're a nation of dog lovers. So I don't want to be going and seeing a guy carrying a sack of Ukrainians to the river, and it just didn't work. And then eventually I had to change it to where I was like, because they like, I'm not saying they would go into like a pound or like a rescue centre, but you don't want to be walking past, like if you were out to pick out a dog and see one of the Klitschkos sitting in a cage and just going, I'll take the boxer. Like, so that's how I managed to finally make it work a bit.
Nice.
But even then, I was like, "It's just not worth it."
I know.
Yeah. See, I would my inclination there would be to be releasing them into a field, like go on, get out.
Be free.
There was a younger comic. I remember he was a one-liner guy. He was really good. I can't remember his name, but the one joke he had that he wobbled a crowd that loved him. It was about his nephew being up on a high wire and falling and dying. Like that was it was a play on words. And afterwards I was like, have you thought of just breaking his arm instead of dying? And he's like, yeah, I think that would really work.
Pick your battles again, I suppose it goes back to it.
Yeah, broken arm is funny. A dead child is less funny.
So Glenn, you've been up last couple of days. You said you were opening for Frankie and doing some spots here, there and everywhere in Scotland. You've also been a UK comic, a circuit comic for a long time. When did you come to UK? Because I know you guys obviously have worked together a lot.
Yes, I first came about 25 years ago.
Aye.
And then, it's been on and off. I've gone to America for a little bit. For 5 years, I just lived on the road, actually.
Oh, wow. What, in the US?
US, Australia, and Europe. I split my time, and that's why I didn't have a house.
Aye. Just on the road and stuff like that, man. So how long were you into? Because you started in Canada, eh?
Yes.
How long were you into before you moved to UK?
I came over when I was 23, I believe, 22.
And so how long had you been doing stand-up for at that point?
3 years. I started when I was 19.
Aye.
And did a lot of long drives.
Thank God you're not doing that anymore.
Just a short trip from Glasgow down to Suffolk again.
Yeah. Well, today I started the day in Aberdeen. I've had to stop in Edinburgh to do Sloss's podcast.
Sure.
And then I came over here. I'm doing this podcast. And then I have to drive to Suffolk.
What the hell?
So a Canadian comic was telling me last night at the gig that Canada stopped short-haul flights. So you can't, like, as a kind of green policy.
Fuck, is there another war that started because you're doing a podcast again?
Because I was like, that surely can't be true. Because that would make gigging in Canada very, very difficult.
Well, it depends what you mean by a short haul flight. Like there's flights. You can get a flight from Vancouver to Nanaimo, which it's only because it's across water. But the flight takes 20 minutes. Yeah, it's like being on a pop fly.
Yeah,
it's like a goalie could kick a ball.
Yeah. Just catapult you over. Like
yeah.
But I'm curious because I've seen your show at the Stand a few years ago, and like I know you filmed a special at the Stand as well at the Glasgow Stand. Yeah. I was wondering, like, because obviously having played fucking all over the world, but obviously the UK a lot and stuff. How is Glasgow as a crowd, like, generally comparatively, like, is it mental and good? Can be both. Have you seen like more mental stuff happening in Glasgow, or is it generally just a night, like a good crowd you enjoy? Yeah,
well, anytime it's mental in Glasgow, it's show based and it's going along with the mood. Like I've always preferred crowds in Glasgow. That's why I was a bit shocked. I opened up for Jim Jeffries a few months ago here in that upside the Armadillo, I think they call it, which. It's not it's not a great room for comedy.
No,
and
it's
you
not.
would think, like, who was the person that saw an armadillo and went, but if we were tiny and we hollowed that out, that'd be a great place to put shows on.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't see a venue walking around there. I see an odd animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the roof's too high, I think. I think that was the problem.
Aye. No, I've not played it, but I've heard that a few times for comics
Yeah.
saying that it's just a bit of a vacuous
I did a
space.
charity gig there. It is shit.
Is it really?
Really bad, aye. When there's so many good rooms as well.
Yeah.
Like it just...
Good rooms and great
Yeah.
crowds.
Yeah.
You've really gone above and beyond.
Yeah. I suppose it is that kind of bridging between... Because obviously Jim, too big for like the Kings. Because I think it's 3,000 people or something at the Armadillo.
Yeah, well, it was funny too because there's the bigger venue, the Hydro,
yeah.
and on that night was Lizzo,
Oh,
and we were leaving.
that would have hit Jim's crowd hard.
Well, we were leaving in the van afterwards, and as we watched the two crowds mingle, we were pretty sure, okay, don't run over that one because that's your ticket buyer. If you have to go through.
I remember going to see Stuart Lee at the Armadillo, and across the road in the Hydro, it was like the fucking bammiest crowd I've ever seen. I'm like, what the fuck is on the other night? And it was the darts.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it's just like a million
man.
stag dudes
Yeah.
like dressed up and shit. I was like, fuck, bye. There's a lot of
You'd hate to clean up that parking lot. Donuts, syringes. We've managed to mix heroin with insulin. So.
Who was all on that? Because it wasn't just you.
Maxwell.
I thought Maxwell had done it as well because he was telling me it was great fun.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Jim had two openers. The opulence.
Yeah.
It was because Jim's not drinking anymore either. So, and it was, like the high end tour. They restocked they restocked the green rooms every night. They didn't just take like a box and no, every night there was a fresh bottle, as me and Maxwell called it, challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Undefeated.
I remember I opened for Jim on these Scottish dates years ago. This was when Jim had first like properly gone. He was doing big theatres, and the Scottish ones were fine. They had Newcastle as well, and it was honestly like every night because they didn't know there was going to be an opener. Every night it was like the first day in prison, where like someone heckled. Like when I first walked in on Newcastle, someone just stood up and went, "Fuck off, you cunt," and that was like my opening. So I was like, okay, let's straight in.
Well, in Newcastle, and that was one of the spicier nights. Like, holy shit! Sometimes I'd go down and stand around the crowd when the show was on, and it was like people were being removed from that like an animal would be. Like you almost expected one of those sticks with the hoop on it. They were like
one guy with sharing a whip.
Like in weird like arm locks and stuff, but like three people to get like okay. It looked like wartime.
And were they just pissed or were they causing trouble and fighting and stuff like that?
Yeah, there was a few fights, but yeah, usually pissed. Sometimes it was hallucinogens, you know. So
really?
I don't know what fucking moron would. You know what would really make me laugh at a comedy show? The comedy show!
Yeah,
you don't need any. You fucking want to laugh at your hand, take some mushrooms. You don't need...
I guess if you're a comic that talks about drugs and shit like that, then people will go and oh fucking I will get some fucking gear for the Jim Jeffries gig or Glenn Wool or whatever.
That was the other problem. Jim, he does a thing where if the front row tickets are expensive, but there's a meet and greet afterwards, so it was quite a pricey ticket. So it meant that the first two rows of every show were local cocaine dealers. And they would just be getting up in threes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the 5 minutes, the show's been on for 5 minutes. where's the and I'm just like, all I'm thinking is just do it there.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who can see that. I'm not gonna. The most I might come over. Yeah.
I years ago during my Fringe show, there was, because it's Saturday nights, I used to get a load of BAMs coming into it.
Aye.
And
the train for Glasgow.
yeah. halfway through the show, I just saw this phone light up, and just one wee guy go, right, and I was like, just done a line of coke, and he went, "It's Kate, mate. It's Kate." And I was like, "Fucking hell!" I was like, "There's like 20 minutes to go, man. Could you not just like?"
Well, 20 minutes in your world.
Yeah.
There's 19 hours left now. That's why it's Scottish miserness. Like,
Gonna get my work for this show.
I am really gonna watch this show.
How do you feel about going on stage, like either just drunk or like inebriated? Because see, sometimes at the Fringe, if I'm doing a late night show, I don't usually like to drink like before I go on, but see at late night shows at the Fringe or whatever, like I don't mind going on having a few drinks and kind of matching the level of the audience. How do you feel with that?
Yeah, I think if you're doing those shows, it's best to crawl in there with them. But I'm getting old, man. I hate being on stage drunk or high or anything. Well, I don't get high anymore, but
would you ever have been on stage high or like? Well, I mean, like it depends what. That's a stupid question.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Mount Everest of comedy. Put on your oxygen packs. He's really up there tonight.
So, what would it be? Weed for you when you
No,
on stage?
No, it was blow.
Aye.
Yeah, but and I say I would never. I'd never use much before the show, but what could happen, especially with club comedy, which after a while I wasn't finding very challenging. So it would lead to me having a fantastic show on the Friday. And then, there would be...
come down on the Saturday.
Well, no, it would be the train kept a-rolling all day long. And then Saturday was a bit scatty. Like, my. Getting escorted out of the venue. Using for Jim's audience.
Because it must be the danger if you have a brilliant one on it and then you just go, right, I need to just fucking...
If you found... because there's been sometimes where at the Fringe I've been really drunk the night before and then I've gone on stage proper hungover and it's been brilliant.
Aye.
And then you go, have I found the key? Like, have I nailed this?
Aye.
And then you do it the next time and you end up spewing. And like,
yeah.
Because if you're just that, because the thing is, when you're hungover, you're more concerned with just like how shite you're feeling versus how the gig's going.
Yeah, you couldn't give a shit about the gig.
So you're relaxed and then it goes well. But it's an unsustainable thing.
I think hangovers within comedy are good for one thing and one thing only, and that's writing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some of my best jokes I've written with a hangover.
Oh, really? Wow.
I could not, and I'd said that a long time, and she was my wife at the time, now ex, said she reckoned it was because it was the only time I allowed myself to stop, like just
All right, yeah.
You didn't think you had to do a million things because you couldn't.
Yeah.
But then, ironically, you're still being productive there by actually writing when you're meant to be stopping. So
yeah. Trust me to find a workaround.
I know. Because it's a bit of a never-ending life, isn't it? Especially, like, I guess those years on the road as well for you. Like, you're just, if you're going from one place to the other and you're always gigging, and you feel like, it's like as well, like, you never really want to say no to work and you don't want to keep the gaps in your diary and stuff. And it's, I suppose it is hard to, like, we're saying at the start about taking time off and all that, but it is hard to give yourself time off when you're just constantly feeling the need to be like, Guess you feel so lucky you're doing it. You're like, fuck, I just need to keep it rolling.
Well, especially when I was living on the road, when I wasn't working, I was paying for hotels, so it was worth it for me. But that's the funny part of that too. If you gig too much, it's really hard to write.
Yeah,
it's just one of those ones. What is it? Hungry cats don't hunt, or it's that kind of thing. You need the downtime from gigging to sort of process all the stuff you've been thinking, then it comes out fresh. But if it's just gig.
Yeah, especially like you're saying about it kind of getting easy to do the circuit. Like, see, once you've got your killer 20 minutes and you're closing clubs every weekend and all that, and then it's hard, it must be hard, like, kind of challenge yourself to kind of keep writing and turning it over. But then you've got fucking hundreds of specials out and stuff like that. So would you just do that? Would you do Edinburgh every year and then kind of like, or do a tour and then just like tape a special and stuff? Yeah.
I think I did Edinburgh 6 years on a trot once, and then I started to go, okay, I'd do it, and then take a year off or do something different at Edinburgh, like a best of or what have you. I'm doing it again this year, but it's because it all got a lot of it's stuff that didn't make it into last year's show. That the last year's show is actually like a 4-year-old show because of all the
COVID.
Yeah. I knew you're doing a old show because it was about the birth of my first kid. And he was 5. What are you writing a show about, Father? Oh, about the day you were born.
That was a weird thing with COVID, wasn't it? Because something like that when I was ready to go, and then you've got that gap in time, and it's like, do you just chuck out that material, or you do it? But then it's like you say, it's like your kid's a couple of years older, and you're trying to live in that moment of where you were at the time when it was all happening to you and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think you can adapt it.
Yeah,
I think you can update it in a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
Well, what I did was just took all of this stuff that was timeless, that wasn't COVID related, and then just went, okay, we'll put this over here. And then because it was best. You don't want to hold on to anything COVID, because I find that material is dying very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
See, when you were because like being a fan of comedy, that life on the road thing has got a proper kind of romantic aspect to me.
Ooh.
What was it? I'm actually it's not. So how many
I can show you some pictures if you ever want to get rid of that hard on.
How many nights a week would you be gigging then?
It would depend. It would depend where I was and what I was doing. But because I was following festivals around, and I was getting really burnt on that too, because festivals don't care where you were or where you're going. They're just they're really intense. And I got in trouble with the Melbourne Festival. Because they changed a day off of mine, and they wanted me to do an interview with it was a school radio, and the school was not in session. It was like an intercom radio too. It wasn't like, like student radio. It was just this intercom that went all through the school. So there would have been like a janitor sweeping, but they just stuck to their guns, and I stuck to mine. I was like, this is ridiculous, because to get to Melbourne, I had started out in Florida, and I'd had to take 4 flights. It's really hard to get from Florida. I had to take 4 flights to get back to LA. I had 18 hours to pack all my stuff, pick up my girlfriend at the time, and then get on the flights all the way to Melbourne. So it had been like a 3 or 4 day trek just to get to Melbourne. And I'd been working straight up until then, but I had this one day off, and I was like, I was going to have to deal with jet lag and all of this. And they were like, no, we're going to come pick you up at 7 a.m. I'm like, you're not picking anybody
I'm afraid
up.
We've got an empty school needing entertained here, Mr. Wills.
You know how big you are in the janitor world. We got to get the word out. They don't know.
was listening to one of your last specials, and you were talking about it was actually recorded in Tallinn,
Oh yeah.
and you were talking about your like kind of background from Estonia and stuff like that, and going back there. And I was just wondering what that experience was like. And you talk about in the show as well, like it's a kind of small town that your family were originally from.
A small island, yeah.
An island, sorry. And going back there and then just seeing all these people that just look the double of you.
I know. And not just me, but like family members too. Like, like saw my grandpa as a teenager. But we can. That special's, there's no real spoiler. But what happened was I got in peril with a bicycle, and the tire was flat, and I didn't know how. And driving down the road, I was about to signal for a car to stop, but I could see it was like a couple, and they were fighting, and so. I was like, well, I still really need help. And it got closer, and it was me. It was me in the car fighting with and I was like, oh, God. And I saw me in the car go, what?
Like Back to the Future.
I wish I had a bicycle.
That's crazy, man. Did they have the same? Like, do they have the same beard or hair?
No. But it was like, yeah.
The feature.
Yeah, when you see yourself or someone that looks like you, you're always.
That's mad, isn't it?
How was life in LA?
I was all right. I didn't spend a great time. I would go there for pilot season, and then that was the other weird part of America. I was in high demand everywhere else, but in America, you just have to go there and sit and not really do anything. And even if it happened now, I could have, like you can do a podcast anywhere. There's a lot more ways to be creative, but it was sort of at a time where you just had to wait for auditions. Yeah, and the shows there are really. They're not great fun. There's a couple of fun rooms that have opened up since, but they were. So yeah, I would go from like really intense work schedule to just sitting there.
Yeah. So you would go over there. So you were over there for the pilot season. So I take it you had someone sending out tapes of you, and you were hoping to get an audition for one of the pilots.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, February is that's what they call a pilot season, where everybody descends. I remember. My one lasting memory is Will Ferrell and Adam McKay have a production company called Gary Sanchez.
Aye.
So I just got the sheet because I had a meeting with them. They wanted to meet me. They'd seen the stand-up or whatever. So I walk in, and the receptionist is there. And I'm like, yeah, I have a meeting with Gary Sanchez at 2:30. And she's like, yeah, but who are you meeting? And I was like, Gary Sanchez is who I'm meeting. And she's like, yeah, but what of the agents? And I'm like, well, this is Gary Sanchez. So I'm pretty sure it's Gary Sanchez. And I was like starting to get a little miffed at her because I assumed she was like, nobody just walks in off the street and talks to Mr. Sanchez. What I didn't know, and apparently Gary Sanchez is a joke name, and it's apparently ridiculous to an American that somebody would be named Gary Sanchez. I think it's because Gary is a very Anglo-Saxon name, and Sanchez is Latino, Hispanic or Latin. But to me, that doesn't. No. It does. So basically, I've walked in through the door of MGM and said, I have a meeting with the lion. No, you don't. I do have a meeting with the lion.
I have a picture of it and everything. The class of it. Imagine what Mr. Sanchez would be like. Just walking in, he's like fucking Scarface. Just a mountain of coke sitting there. Come in, Glenn.
Hello, gentlemen. Would you like a burrito? Some cocaine, perhaps?
Yeah, so we got a meeting with the brothers, the Warners.
Either one's fine.
She is a 20th century fox. Would you like a light? Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's great. Did you meet with Will and...
No, it was a different guy.
Gary Sanchez?
Yeah. They just said, so, okay, that's Gary Sanchez. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Wood.
Yeah, one of these.
And I didn't know a donkey. Hello.
I can't remember the dude's name, but he was very funny. But he had a bad back. That's what I remember. It was like, he's like, please don't take this. I'm not insulting you. I cannot move right now.
I might say that with the Estonia thing because I was wondering, is Wool like an Estonian name then?
It is, but it was anglicized at the Canadian border. My dad was a refugee, as were the whole family. So when they got to Canada, they were like, nobody has the last. It's actually Vool. It's VOOL with umlauts over the O's. And I think I've said it right, but I haven't. Because anytime I say it to an Estonian, they're like, well, Vool? No. And they look and go, Vool. Like, but what did I? You didn't say Vool. You say Vool. Fucking people.
It was cool to listen to it, like getting recorded in Tallinn and stuff as well. Like I'm always envious. Like I feel like Scottish people, like we struggle enough going to fucking England, never mind going to like Europe and trying to do it to people whose second language is English or whatever. But it must have been cool to record it there. And like how did you find the crowd there, and how are like the European kind of second English as a second language crowds? How do you find them?
Yeah, it was good. I've been to Estonia a few times, so I kind of knew what to expect. But we did it. We shot an early and a late show, which was good because the early show it was really stiff, and after the first 10 minutes, I was really like, "Fuck, this couldn't be going any worse." And then the water bottle fell off the stool and smashed on the stage. So we had to stop the recording and clean it all up. God. And I had to go backstage. Yeah, Barry Castanola it was him and his crew.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah, they had to mop the stage and reset it because, you don't
want to leave a smashed bottle there for continuity.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we had to tape another water bottle to the stool. But it was, once that happened, it was sort of a tension reliever, and I was able to joke about that, and that loosened the crowd up, and we got a better recording out of it.
Aye, it's hard with the recordings, isn't it? Because when you're like, right, it's good when you've obviously got 2 chances at it or whatever, but when you're like, right, I just need to get this right.
Yeah.
And you're so trying to get the words right and everything that you're too tense, and then again, you can't you should probably just do it with Hangover, I suppose, and then you'd maybe be a bit more relaxed.
It was one time in Amsterdam, we were shooting a special, and there was cameras in and everything. And we did it over 2 nights, and the first night hadn't gone good. The second night, because it was at Toomler's, the comedy club there. The second night, I'm in my hotel room, just waiting to come down, because there was other people shooting their stuff too. But they call down, they call up to the room, and they say, just so you know, Frank Rijkaard is here tonight. He's, and this was just when he had, he was the manager of Barcelona at the time, and had just won the Champions League.
Wow.
He loves comedy, but he couldn't ever sit in the crowd with people because it was too much. So anytime the show was on, he would sneak out the back of the club. And then when the crowd went on, was all facing the right way, he would come sit in the back, and they go, so just so you know, Frank Rijkaard will be there. So I'm waiting for my slot. I'm smoking a cigarette back when I smoked. Frank Rijkaard's smoking a cigarette too. And we just start chatting to the guy, and he's like, so, you're a comedian?
Wow.
I was like, yeah. And then he goes, that must be so hard. Like, what does it feel like when you tell a joke and everyone laughs? And I was like, probably like scoring a goal in front of 90,000 people. Right? But then he got all philosophical. And he's like, no, but it's not because if you score a goal on a football pitch, every player on the team had to be exactly where they were, or you wouldn't have scored that goal. Nobody scores a goal all on their own, but you get the laugh. You get the whole laugh. You did everything like that. And I was like, you're right. And then, so we start talking a little more, and he goes, how do you feel tonight? And I was like, well, I'll tell you what, Frank, here's the thing. We recorded last night, and I didn't have a very good show. We didn't get it. So I feel that there's pressure here tonight. There's a lot of cameras in. I have to bring it for this show. And he went from just a dude having a smoke with a comedian, and he just flipped that switch to he was the best football manager in the world at that time. He just won the Champions League, and it just, everything drained from his face, and he just like grabbed my head and just like a Vulcan mind meld, and he just went, there are no cameras in that room tonight. Like that. And I went, there are no cameras in the room tonight.
Wow.
Yeah. And he just let me go, and they brought me on stage, and they just fucking smashed it out of the park. And when the special, when the credits rolled, it said manager Frank Rijkaard.
So you got pre-game talk.
Team talk.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was.
That's well cool.
That's fucking amazing. Just shows you man management skills. Fucking
I know,
top notch
I know.
for Frank Rijkaard.
Yeah. Well, you sort of change your opinion of it too, because like when you watch, you go, what does a manager even do? You know,
Yeah.
it's all the players. They don't need these managers, but yeah, man, they get up to stuff.
Yeah, he's probably sitting watching your entire show the way he was when Barca won the Champions League. Like, yep, that was down to me.
That's
No,
my boy.
my tactics.
Sub me off after 5. Frank, come on. Brought on Tom Stade.
Like for like, something they're both Canadian.
Just remember, Tom, if you score a goal, we all scored it. Yes, that's the coach.
That's amazing, man.
I love how people like that romanticize our job. Like him going, like, it must feel like it must be so hard. Like, it's whenever you get, like, I've had guys that work in the fire service come up to you after gigs and going, you've got the toughest job in the world.
No.
And I was like, you save people from burning buildings, for fuck's sake. I talk piss for 20 minutes a night. It's just, it's incredible what people think of this job.
They're like, I'd be so scared to do what you do. And you're like, no, the only reason I do what I do is because I'd be scared to do what you do.
Yeah.
A normal fucking job.
yeah.
I was wondering, Glenn, because like, I guess it's more rare for people in the UK to go and be able to do like so many gigs, particularly in America, but just worldwide as somebody like yourself. Like, I've always been curious, but how do you find, and do you have a preference for, like, no, in the UK, like the circuit, it'll be like you've got like a break in between each act or whatever, versus America where it's all like table service and there's no breaks, and you'll have like acts just constant, like throughout the night.
Breaks are way better.
Really?
Breaks. Oh, yeah. And I remember when I first came over here, they told me about the break. And I was trying to talk them out of it. I'm like, you goddamn insane. You take a break, they'll leave.
Yeah.
What? You'll have to get their attention again. No. I think we'll just, and they were like, oh, well, this is our club, Glenn. It's not your call.
Yeah, we appreciate the feedback, but we've been doing this a few years now. So.
Yeah, and it was only when I realized it. Oh, they're drunks. That's why they need a break.
Because do you think like so for crowds in America and stuff like that, are they just not drinking as much? Like, do they do their 2 drink minimum and that'll be it for a lot of people, or What's
they
it
do
like?
drink less, but I think it's just down to American stubbornness. Because it really, if you're doing a comedy club, it's not, the hierarchy is different. Like the headliner gets paid the most, they're on last, and then the people on before are paid sometimes significantly less.
Yeah.
But what happens if you're headlining, it means that they do a thing called the check drop. So say you're doing a 45-minute slot, you get to the 35-minute, and you want to be sort of pumping up for your closing bit, you know, the thing that's going to get them all going. But there's all this people putting checks. Well, I only had the nachos, so I didn't have it. So you actually have to write in a 35-minute lull that you sort of talk to the crowd a bit and make sure you're that, so that you've kept, because if that starts in the middle of your closing bit, then
it's done. Yeah.
Wow. So that's it. It's like the version of like the 45-minute sad bit in the Edinburgh Fringe show. It's you need a lull for the fucking check to drop, man.
Because I've heard, does it not in some clubs get the newer comics to do when the checks are getting put out, and that's like the kind of challenge?
Yeah, they'll do it. If like in New York, if there's just like a club show that's just running 6 acts, you know, then and everyone's doing 10, then they call it I think the bullet spot's the first spot, and then the check slots. Yeah, but they've got different names.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But it's ridiculous. Like you can just do that. You can do that with a credit card. Just take a, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy because I always used to think I couldn't even picture how it would work, and then I went to LA a few years ago, and I went to the store and just seen like it wasn't as disruptive as I'd imagined it would be, but still I would much prefer the way we do it here, just to have the show on and everyone concentrating, and then there's a break where they fucking...
It kind of happens at Monkey Barrel now.
Yeah,
they run right
the
through
QR codes and stuff.
And it took a while after, once everyone opened up and they were still doing table service, you would see people sitting on their phones, and your natural reaction, if you see them intently, like to speak to them and go, what the fuck are you doing? And then you just very quickly start to realise, they're just ordering a drink.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way they can get a drink, so you can't really give them shit for trying to enjoy themselves.
Your face is lit up. I know, I'm trying to...
just doing a line of cat here. It's good to see you again, man.
You know, the Glee has that system.
Yeah.
But you have to be really careful if you're a punter, because you have to make sure that you've picked the right Glee that you're in. And they said out of all the Glee clubs, it happens maybe, you know, more than you'd think, but every club, whoever it's happened to, has always the table that it's gone to has been honest, except Glasgow, which has never had the drinks come back. Oh no, 2 pitchers of beer. No.
Just a stag do with French martinis. Yes, these are ours.
That's amazing. I was at Birmingham Glee last year, and I took my dad down for the weekend. And I was like, right, just order the QR code thing and all that. So he does it. And then he's sitting waiting like 5-10 minutes, and he's saying he goes to one of the staff, he's like, I've not had my drink and all that. And they're like, they can't find the order. And I like look at his phone, and he's just like picked what he wants and not went and paid. And I'm like, fucking it. I'm like, that was my first weekend down doing it, and I'm just brought him, and I'm just like, and then again you get the fucking Scottish thing. They're just going to think we're trying to get some fucking free drinks.
Then you email back afterwards. Listen, Mark, we really enjoyed your set, but your dad made an absolute cunt of himself this weekend.
We can see why you can't leave him unattended.
Oh man, that's fucked up. Have you got a favourite? Where's your favourite places to play? Would you say then? And not like,
I'd say Glasgow would be one of them.
Be up there, eh?
Yeah. Well, Britain on a whole. I've looked around and I love you best. That being said, I miss Canada, but I think I miss my family more than gigging there. But I do like it, and when I go back, it's fun. You start to realize there's little references you can make. Because I've always been jealous of you guys. Like you got a hometown crowd that you can go play to, and my hometown crowd is Vancouver, and they're notoriously some of the worst audiences in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, they sort of, that's where wokeness came from. That was that's where it's So I was ready for when it came. I was like,
do you still see when you're writing now? Do you second guess jokes due to how they might be received on stage?
Yeah.
Because I found myself doing that now. Stuff even 5 years ago I would have done on stage, no bother, and not even thought about it. And now going, I better just double check this. Just
my wife, who has a very dark sense of humor. There's a couple. She's like, you can't even say that again, Glenn. Let alone tell it on a stage. I'll tell you the joke after. It's a cracker joke, and then I'll start then I'll write another one and I'll use it as if she's not going to let me do that, I'm like, well, do you want me to do the other? Okay, well, if it's a choice between, well, then it is a choice because I want them both.
I was listening to one of your specials you were talking about when you were presenting the award at the Heavy Metal Awards.
Yeah.
The joke you were going to do there.
I did do it.
But they made you, because it was you changed it for what you were initially going to say.
What I wanted to do was, I wanted to let me present a category that it would make sense. That I opened the envelope and said, and the winner is Lost Profits. And they were like, you can't even mention it. You please do not do that joke. You cannot. And they banned me from doing the joke. So I wrote a better joke. A joke that didn't matter what category I was going to present. I went on stage and I said, I was initially going to come up here and do a gag about Ian Watkins, but a gag about the Lost Profits, but the joke was so juvenile, Ian Watkins fucked it. I got an official letter of complaint from Kerrang to my management.
Jesus Christ.
We here at the Heart of Satan Rock and Roll do not like humor that would intimidate or belittle.
My God.
Like Marilyn Manson was there.
Yeah.
What kind of jokes you think Marilyn Manson wants to hear? He's so upset, Glenn. He hasn't been able to touch his heroin ever since.
His makeup is run. He was crying. Oh, God.
Just mascara running down his face.
How did the
His
crowd...
date's Happy Meal has gone cold.
How did the crowd take it? Did they like it?
Some really liked it,
Yeah.
but there was boos. There was audible booing. But the drummer for Bullet for My Valentine, because there's a special can for the acts and the presenters, and you can imagine that was quite full all night. Why is there such a long lineup for the bathrooms at the Kerrang Awards? But I bumped him into him in the can, and he went, "Oh, somebody had to say something."
Well, that's it. But wasn't it going to be you? Who the fuck was going to mention it? I suppose?
Yeah. It's one of those things, and then like I say in the bit, you can be sensitive, but you can't be in fucking heavy metal and be sensitive. You look at the shirts. You're gonna go complain at the merch table. Like, that has Jesus upside down.
That must have been a buzzing if you're a big heavy metal fan to get to do that.
Oh, it was. I got to meet Duff McKagan too.
Oh, cool.
And I got the fucking best picture you could possibly get with him, because I just walked over to his table. He looked like he was leaving, and I just and I was like, I don't want to waste your time, but you're in my favorite band, and just want to thank you for all that you've done. I've read your book, and it was wonderful, and I just want to say thank you. And he was like, hey, just what's your name? And he shook my hand, and we talked for a little bit. Just you know, it was really cool. It was absolutely excellent. And then I got back to the table, and he was there too. He'd taken a picture of me just standing around talking with Doug McKagan. So it wasn't like us like that.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
See, this is me and him at the table talking about, like, you know, so when you retire, I'll take over on the bass. Yes, Glenn. Yes, you will.
Can you play, Glenn? I'll learn.
It doesn't matter. Can you?
Is there anyone you would love to meet from a band?
Do you know who I'd most like to meet? Is Les Claypool from Primus.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how fucking good Les Claypool is on the bass guitar? Oh, well, you know, you can listen to Primus to find that out, or you can listen to this story. Les Claypool, when Cliff Burton, Metallica's bassist, died in a bus accident, they held open auditions, and Les Claypool tried out for Metallica, after which James Hetfield said, "You're too good."
Wow. Must have made Jason Newsted feel like a real piece of shit when he did get hired.
Well, also, like, what if it was his dream to always be in Metallica?
Yeah.
Like any other thing you could hear and go, oh, but like, what do you do? Just start riding bicycles without a helmet and popping wheelies, just trying to lose a little bit of muscle memory.
What was the thing behind that? Is it just because like maybe the nature of the band and the like, heavy metal, it needs to sound a bit rougher, and would they have just been too smooth or something like that? Or why would they? How could you be too good?
I don't, because it's not like, because Metallica are all incredible musicians.
Aye.
So
Yeah. Well, Les Claypool may be the best bass player in the world. The people wouldn't argue that. To you know, with anything, it's hard to say best because, you know, personal taste comes into it. But
sure.
I just think to be that good at something, and he's got one of the best quotes about it too. He said, you know, when I was little, they told me to find something that you love doing, and if you do it enough, then you can make that your job. But I found out that nobody wanted to pay to watch me masturbate, so I had to take up the bass instead.
Maybe it was just the case that he was too good at masturbating.
And how did James Hetfield know? Would have changed to Enter Sandman.
Exit life. Do you like much heavy metal?
I couldn't tell you even if I've listened to it before. I don't know. But Chris McArthur-Boyd, he's big into his Metallica and all that stuff. So vicariously through him, I know some things about it. But that's
she did Download. Download's a good festival to do as a comic.
Aye.
Wow, last year was horrible.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, they put it outside.
Oh yeah, I heard about this. Yeah,
put it outside. There was another band stage just on the other side of like some shipping containers. There was a ride, like a fairground ride that was pumping out loud, like fucking heavy metal as people went around on swings. And it was on in the bright daylight, like it started at noon. So I get there and I'm on last. And by the time I get on stage, the sun's gone down. So they had to turn on lights that they hadn't used all day. So they got the settings wrong, and I was absolutely blinded. So I get on stage, I'm doing the show, and because there's just like, it's just an outdoor, there's no roof at all, I can't hear anything. Like, you know, there's the background of like music and this music here. I'm totally blinded. And at that point, I'm just like, well, I just have to do my set and try and guess how long people are laughing for. Because, you know, it was sort of like when they're, you know, write your set down, like that kind of thing. So I did my time, fully blind, can't hear a thing. I get off stage. Somebody goes, how'd it go? I was like, I don't know. Ask one of them. I'm not, you know.
Can't see or hear.
Yeah, you're blinking. You know, I can take a look at the crowd if I close my eyes because it's burnt into my retinas.
How do you feel playing festivals? I've never done one. I always, like, because T in the Park used to do it just before I started or before I was good enough to
there was ones that were good. Rock Ness was always really, really good.
Yeah.
But it does depend, because they did, like, Download never used to be like that. The year I did Download, it was on its own night.
Yeah,
no,
like
that's
what I heard.
Night,
it was
in a specific, I mean, it was a big tent, but at least there was a roof. And it was at night. There was nothing done during the day, and there was nothing to compete with it. So it was always really, really busy.
Yeah.
But again, it does depend. Like, Tea in the Park was always bad for it because there would be it was normally fairground rides as well. Like fucking techno just pumping out constantly. And with that bass behind it, you can barely hear a thing. No one ever thought about it, because comedy at that kind of festival was always an afterthought. It was just something to fill another tent.
And you could just get a nice weekend out of it, basically, if you've done 20 minutes of fucking...
Aye. There was one year they wanted us to do hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we were like... And Ian Stirling went on first in like middle of the afternoon, and it was boiling hot sunshine, and there was about 6 people in the tent or something.
Fuck.
And then after that, we were like, there's not a fucking chance any of us are doing an hour in this.
Fucking hell. How long did the whole thing end up lasting? Like,
we ended up because they didn't really know what they were doing in terms of running a comedy tent. So we just said to them, look, why don't we make the whole show an hour? And we'll just do 15 each. It's like, so I think for a thing that they planned to have on for 8 hours for the day lasted 2. So it was, but and then and I'll go on first because I've got drinking to be doing as well. So,
have you got a roughest gig you've ever done, Glenn, or one that sticks out as just like one of the worst like setup ones?
Yeah. It was right after lockdown it ended. It was those raffle ones. In England was playing. So yeah, it was heavily papered. And I got on stage. I was on last, and first couple of jokes are going okay, but you know when you realize they're not laughing enough to sustain roles, you know, you're like, this is gonna This, this over 20 minutes. This is not going to be fun. So, and there was a woman that she seemed upset when I got to the stage, but she was getting more and more upset to a point where after jokes, she was putting a fake gun to her head and going like that.
Fucking hell.
And I did a joke about duck sex, that I got a laugh out of somebody, but it was the only one. And then I did a few more jokes, and this woman kept shooting herself fake in the head, and I was like, I referenced back. I'm like, well, at least I made that guy laugh about the duck sex. And then he actually came in and he was like, I thought about it. I only learned that fact a few weeks ago, so I can understand why everybody else wouldn't have known that. Like he wanted to rescind his laugh. Like,
at least it made that go laugh. Hold on.
No, in retrospect, no, that was not humorous. I thought, okay, I'm gonna power it out. I'm gonna get through. But then Steve Harris, he poked his head through the curtain, and they all cheered, and I went, all right, fuck it, I'm out, I'm done. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. So I get off stage, and I had to go back the next day or whatever, and I talked to Steve because he'd hung out with the crowd afterwards, and apparently the woman's problem was that they had a woman advertise on the bill who had pulled. Like I'd gotten the bill, I'd gotten the gig like I think 2 days before, and she was mad at me because I was the last on, and she was mad at me that I wasn't a woman. Like I don't know why she thinks. Like in her head, like does she think I called the club and said, bump the woman? I have stuff to say. I'd like to drive all the way to Preston to do it. And I'd like you to take a job away from a woman to do it, because I've got that much power in the comedy industry. And the kicker of it all, the woman that I replaced is Sarah Kayworth, who is non-binary.
Yeah.
So we had her little fucking festival of shots in the head the first time Sarah said, you may think it's a female name, but I am actually non-binary. Oh my God, non-binary! I've come to see women! You interloper!
Yeah, it sounds pretty fucking rough to be fair.
Yeah.
What's the fact about ducks?
It was, it's a long story about, it happened during lockdown. When my son was, he was right at the age where I thought he was going to have his first memory. And I was worried about what it was going to be because we're, locked in the house. And then on, one of the first Thursdays, he was like going like this, and he'd remembered that, the clapping for the carers, and I thought that would be the best absolute first memory because he'd pieced it together, and he was starting to realize what day it was. And I was like, the clap for socialized medicine. That if that's your first memory, and we lived in like a really quaint village, and there was a green and a duck pond, and everybody showed up. It was like 5 minutes to 8. And peered at her windows and making contact with seeing people you didn't really see in the day, really, and I don't know how much you know about ducks mating habits, but 3 boy ducks chased a girl duck across the green and really savagely. As we all sort of watched. That's what happened. When it was over, nobody knew what to do. We were all really depressed. And then the clock struck 8 and we all had to... Jesus. That's going to be his first memory. Oh, we would applaud the duck rape. The seasons would change. We'd lock ourselves in the house all day, waiting to see a good one.
Well, hopefully he fucking doesn't remember that, I suppose. Listen, Glenn, we'll let you get down the road. That's been great, man. Thank you very much for joining us. And have you got before we go? Have you got any plug? I know because you've got a lot of specials up online. Got them in Spotify audio versions. Got a few out elsewhere. With Stand Up Records. That's a good place to go to their website. Nice. The new one, Tiny Kings of Winter, that'll be going straight onto YouTube. So follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that. And listen to my podcast with Andrew Maxwell called Egypts of the World. Yes,
it's very good.
Is the one with you and Frankie still available? Because I remember listening to that years ago, the freestyling one.
I don't know if it is. Maybe check his website.
Aye. That's great as well. That's a really good listen.
If you enjoyed freestyle, you will enjoy Egypts of the World.
Yeah, brilliant. Awesome, man. Well, listen, Glenn, thanks a lot for joining us. Marc, thanks for stepping in.
That's been an absolute pleasure.
today, and thanks very much for listening. Before we go, just remember, please like and subscribe on YouTube, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can follow us at SomewherePod on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter, and send in emails to somewherepod@gmail.com. Until next time, guys, we'll speak to you soon.